Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Forex with Alison and Chris. This week we're talking about something that's very close to every trader's heart, which is minimizing losses. If you have any questions, as always, you can send them to us at podcast@fxscouts.com or just get in touch with us on our social media too. Thanks so much and enjoy this week's episode.
Hey Chris, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, Alison. Can't complain. It's nice and sunny in Portugal, August. Though there are a lot of tourists about. They love a bit of Portugal in August. Yeah, they're everywhere. But I'm on the outskirts of a village, so they're not bothering me so much. But every time you head down to the beach or you head into Lisbon, it's a bit like school's out, that kind of thing.
When does everyone go back?
They'll start heading back. Where are we now? We're in the 27th of August. Yeah, this next week it'll start quieting down a bit. But I mean, Portugal is really popular these days, so it doesn't ever really quieten down. It starts around November. You start to really feel the difference.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It is.
Yeah, fine. I'm fine.
Good. Kenton swarming with tourists?
No. We're heading into spring now, of course. So, but I must say, Kenton's got busier. Since COVID, particularly. I moved here during COVID.
Yes.
So, and a lot of people are the same. So from that perspective, it's got a lot busier than it was. But it's still a very quiet town compared to Portugal, I'm sure.
And this time of year, not so much as well, because it's still technically winter, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is the best weather. I mean, it's crazy. December, the wind howls and it rains a lot. So you have your odd hot day, but in winter, it's idyllic. It's just so beautiful here. Yeah.
Well, don't tell too many people. Well, you just told the whole world. Unfortunately, they're all going to be descending on Kenton in August now. There goes your quiet lifestyle. But anyway, yes, we're talking about minimizing losses today.
Yes, that's exactly where we're starting today. So I thought we'd kick it off with asking you a question and, what do you focus on with minimizing your losses when you trade?
Yeah, absolutely. The foundation of minimizing losses is going to be a solid risk management plan. And I think that's, it's really important. And with risk management plan, that's defining your risk per trade is really the first step there. So for me, I typically risk no more than 1% of my trading capital on a single trade. So that way, even if you have a few trading losses in a row, you're never going to blow your account. And it's not that you're never going to blow your account, you're never going to seriously trouble your account. And it's a really good place where to start when you're talking about minimizing loss.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so with you there on the 1% rule. It's something I also stick to just because, as you say, you can then afford a few more losses. And losing is part of the trading game. It's something that you do have to accept. But it's also very easy to get caught up in the excitement of a trade. And, a lot of people want to go all in, especially when they're winning.
Yeah.
But that's exactly when you need to stick to a trading plan. And, one thing I always set religiously is a stop loss. And I always set it at a point that invalidates my trade setup. And as soon as it hits, I'm out, no questions asked. And this also helps me manage my psychology and the emotions around minimizing my losses.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, stop losses are your best friend in trading. They protect you from those big catastrophic losses. They're going to wipe out your account. But it's really crucial, as you just mentioned there, to place them in the right spot. I always tell new traders, don't place your stop loss too tight, or you're going to get stopped out by just normal market fluctuations. So it needs to be at a level where your original trade idea is proven wrong, like you just said there. When it's been invalidated, that's where you set your stop loss. And as you say, like really important psychologically as well, because then you know that you're out, that your trade idea is no longer functional, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
Yeah, and speaking of emotional decisions, I also want to talk a little bit about trading psychology and how it helps you to minimize your losses if you get it right. Because, trading is as much a mental game as it is a numbers game. What's your experience with that, Chris?
Yeah, no, you're spot on there. a big part of minimizing losses is accepting that losses are a natural part of trading. Everybody loses at some point, and everybody loses quite frequently. So too many traders, especially beginners, they take that loss personally. They take it emotionally, like they've made some kind of personal failure. And that can be really difficult for people. But look, it's all just part of the process, right? The key is to stay disciplined and to not let that one bad trade, or even 2 or 3 bad trades, don't let it lead to revenge trading. And this is, the really important part here, that I've seen too many beginners get their accounts wiped out because they take that first loss personally, and then they end up jumping back in, trying to recover it, and they end up, just in a whirlpool. And before you know it, your account's wiped out, and you're back to square one. So you've got to be really careful with understanding how those losses translate into your own psychology.
Yeah, I mean, revenge trading is a huge trap. I remember I used to do a lot of that when I first started trading, and it's almost like a snowball effect. You lose, you get emotional and stressed, you make rash decisions, and you just lose more and more and more. And it really discourages you. You just think, I'm such a bad trader, I can't do this, and it almost sets you back to zero, in terms of where you feel like you're right at the beginning of your trading journey. So I found that having a trading journal helps. After every trade, whether I win or lose, I write down why I entered the trade, what happened, and then I also write about how I felt during the trading. And I find it's a very good way to reflect and keep my emotions in check when I do this.
Yeah, I do the same, and I think all traders do. All traders of any experience should do as well. It's a really powerful tool, and as you say, what's important with that trading journal is to write down not just the trade and what it was and the loss and the win or whatever. It's how you felt as well. It's about, your trading journal should be about learning how your psychology interacts with these wins and losses, and something for you to reflect on at a later date, to understand your own psychology. It's the only way you can improve your trading psychology is to understand yourself better. Another really important part, I think, of minimizing losses, and when it comes to, how to deal with trading psychology, is it's crucial to know when to take a break. If you've had a string of losses, or you've had a big win, or you've had a few big wins, sometimes the best thing to do is step away, clear your mind, and then come back with a fresh perspective. It's better to miss a few trades than to keep trading when you're not thinking clearly, whether that's from too much of a positive outlook or too much of a negative outlook. It doesn't really matter. You're not thinking clearly. Take a break, come back later.
Yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes the market just doesn't suit your strategy. So recognizing when not to trade is just as important as knowing when to pull the trigger. And speaking of strategies, Chris, how do you adjust your strategy in different market conditions?
Well, I'm as anybody who's listened to this or reads my stuff on the site, and they'll know that I tend to look at the big picture. I'm a trend trader. I tend to hold positions longer. I don't. I'm not much of a day trader. So when the market is choppy or in a range, like it was earlier this year, when the Forex markets are very quiet, there was very little volatility, I tend to trade less, or sometimes switch to a strategy that that's going to suit those conditions better. Like there's a lot of strategies there for trading ranging markets, well documented. So it's all about being adaptable, and no single strategy is going to work in all conditions. And part of your minimizing your losses is knowing when your strategy is not going to work in this market, when it's not in sync with that market.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, flexibility is absolutely key with trading. I've seen so many traders that are so rigid with their strategy that they end up giving back all their gains when the market changes, because they can't change tack, or they think they've got to be in. So being able to adapt and then sit out when certain market conditions when the markets change is a huge strength. It's not a weakness.
No, absolutely. And another thing that helps you minimize loss is having a solid understanding of position sizing. And this is something we've actually talked about a lot, I think, especially with guests on this program. It's something that keeps people, a lot of our guests keep coming back to here, and it's really key. A lot of traders don't realize how important this is, that it's not just about having a stop loss. It's about making sure your position size is correct so that any loss is manageable and is within your clearly defined risk tolerance that you would have already set for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, position sizing is huge. It's absolutely key to your risk management. So even if you have a great setup and you have a good stop loss position, if your position size is too big, a small loss can absolutely devastate your account. And I always calculate my position size based on my stop loss distance and my risk per trade. And it's a very simple formula, but it really does work well.
Yep. Yeah, and it's not just about the numbers either. It's about mindset too. If you're over leveraged, it's really going to mess with your psychology. You're going to start panicking over small market moves, and then that will inevitably lead to poor decision making. Keeping your position size in check is going to help you with your trading psychology too. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing is that you don't want to forget that you can use technology to your advantage. So I use alerts to let me know when prices reach certain levels. And this also helps me, it means I don't have to sit and stare at my screen all day, which can also be pretty stressful. And it can also create an emotion with your trading. So it also helps me to prevent making impulsive decisions, and when those alerts hit, then I can reevaluate my trades, and it gives me just some breathing room and time to decide what I want to do.
Yeah.
Do you use any technology, Chris? What would your advice be on that?
Yeah, I mean, alerts. I think a lot of traders use alerts. It's really, I think, a really crucial part of trading, often overlooked by people who are just starting out. But I also use automated trading for some strategies. I mean, we were talking a lot about trading psychology, and this is why automated trading is really useful, because it takes the psychology out of it altogether. Once the criteria are met, the system's going to execute the trades without me having to second guess anything, and
Yeah.
It's particularly useful for really highly volatile markets, where your normal human reaction speed is just not going to be fast enough. We were talking about this in, a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about specifically when you're trading the news, and there's a big news event. You kind of want to have an automated strategy in place for that kind of event.
Yeah, I mean, automation can be a lifesaver, literally, especially in the fast markets. Yeah, well, I think that about covers it. But before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember that minimizing losses is not just about having a stop loss in place. It's not just, you're going to set your stop loss and that's it. I've done my job. I've done my risk management job. It's a really holistic approach here. So you're talking, you want to have psychological discipline. If you worry about your psychological discipline, keep a trading journal and learn how you think and how that interacts with your trading. You need to be adaptable, as we discussed, and you want to use all the tools at your disposal. When you think about risk management, think about your position size. Think about how much of your capital you're trading as well. Don't just set that stop loss. Look, losses, as we said, are inevitable, but if you handle them right, then they're not going to stop you from being a successful trader.
Yeah, and I guess just remember that trading is a journey. Managing your losses is a big part of it. Managing your psychology, as you said now, Chris, is also a big part of it. You want to stay disciplined, you want to stay focused, and you want to carry on learning. I don't think you ever get to a point where you're not learning. And also just because the markets are, the markets move and there are different news events that come out,
Yep.
And different things that affect the market, at different stages. So keep abreast of news, keep learning, stay focused, stay disciplined, and essentially, I think that's the way you'll also definitely minimize your losses. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to contact us at podcast@fxscouts.com. And please remember to subscribe and like.
Speak to you next week, guys.
Cheers, Chris.